Now, in my field, there are two big wings. One is a little more classically religious, represented by Eliade. Here, Mircea Eliade discovered through his research that he's the discoverer of the existence of the shaman and core themes and patterns that he could generalize about every culture. So every culture has sacred centers, rituals, ethics, all of that. So he's a genius, and then I chose Jesus as a sample shaman among the big guys. He does the healing. That's what the religious people used to mostly do in the tribal phase. And so his view, we might argue with this. I haven't made my case with him here yet, I know that. He says everyone has an idea of the sacred or an ultimate concern, as Paul Tillich put it. And it doesn't matter. My favorite example in my class is Packerism, right? Am I wrong? Is Packerism not a religion? One woman told me her husband, before each game, has to get his favorite jersey and his six-packs lined up and his snacks so that he doesn't have to do anything but watch that game. So I think he's right in this, but I don't think this is sufficient to make this case. Now, Karl Jaspers here discovered another astounding thing, kind of obvious when we think back about it. But at the middle of the first millennium, before the Common Era, he realized there was a huge revolution in religious thinking again. So we had the tribal phase, city-states. Then he calls the emergence of these, the big guys, we can say, the axial age of religion. And he sees a big pivot from the city-state religion where the God rules just the city to now overarching themes for whole cultures. As civilization becomes pan-empires filled with larger and larger political units, humans start to realize that other humans are actually humans like them, instead of delectable people to be hunted down and eaten in the classic cannibal sense. By the way, I think we all know, don't we, that we all have cannibal ancestors? Yeah, a lot of Neanderthals. I don't know if they taste like chicken, but I have a feeling great-great-grandpappy might have had a bite of one. With these guys, we don't have that anymore. Who are they? Just shout them out. Okay, who's this guy? What's that? I heard Yahweh's good. Zeus is also good. Actually, what's that? Could be Moses. It could actually. Those are Bible fashions. You know, people rail sometimes unfairly in this Islamophobic culture about Islamic clothing, but actually it's just Bible fashions. But I like it when students say God, because the problem with calling this God, and he is modeled after Zeus, in fact. Michelangelo didn't know how to paint God. So why not go with the Greek-Roman precursor? And there you go. Who's this? Yes, Yahweh. Not supposed to say that. It would have been stoned a long time ago for that. And Allah. And why are they? They're not presented like a big man, are they? It's not an old man in the sky. In fact, in the European culture, we tend to think of God as an old man in the sky because of Zeus and Jupiter and the like. But in fact, Muslims and Jews will tell you he's no man and can't be represented. And then the problem with calling him God is that he's a God too, and so is he. Anyone identifying this one? Krishna and Shiva from India, and then finally, well, from China. Now, these guys don't have a God in their system. And this is the problem in my field. If we say science and religion are opposed, and religion is about belief in him, then we're saying, essentially, that Chinese aren't religious. Whoa, that would be hard. Then what are they if they're not religious? And we'll look at that a little more detail, but the axial age, and you can see the origin of many of these faiths start in the middle of the first millennium before the Common Era. So Axial Age religion represents a big leap forward for humans. And then, let's actually go back to them. The one thing these all share is what we call the golden rule. We often think Jesus invented the golden rule, but he did not. They all say, harming another person or doing unto others as you want them to do to you is a new breakthrough in consciousness at this phase. So they all said just about the same kind of thing, little exception of this guy. He thinks it's okay to kill if it's your caste duty and the like. But we can talk a little more about that in a second. Now I want to move into some more definitions of religion, because we've got to have, don't we, a definition that could include all the religions of the axial age on the planet. And George Lindbeck, he's famous for this. He's kind of conservative guy, actually. He believes that it's your primary worldview. And so, does anybody not have a primary worldview? I like to say only people in comas and corpses lack a primary worldview. That could be anything. That could be, Packerism, for example. It could be Americanism. You can make religious structures out of so many things. And then Ruth Benedict here, very influential anthropologist, studied many cultures. I believe Papua New Guinea. Does that sound about right? Oh, well, sorry, sir. That's okay. I think it's Papua New Guinea. She found out that those people still practice cannibalism. And then she found out that cannibalism is an excellent thing to do in your society. And then she came back to our culture and found that actually morality is relative wherever you go, and we can see that in the news and in conflicts around the planet. So there's a big perspective. Emil Durkheim promulgated the notion of religion as a glue for society. And when we look at this map of the religions, did it ever seem strange to any of you that everyone in this vast stretch of land are all Muslim? Or that these are all mostly Catholic, or Protestants and a blend, or Hindus? Wouldn't it seem more real if in fact religions were scattered around the planet? So we would have 10% Hindus here, 10% Buddhists, 10% Christian, but that's not what we have. In fact, in this room, how many were raised in a, let's say, Protestant or Catholic environment? Anybody? Okay. And so that means you're all glued together. Even you don't practice today is another issue, but you can all talk the talk of Christianity to some degree, I'm thinking. So that is how it functions as a glue and a primary worldview. And then Joseph Campbell adds, the social features that bind people together. And then he's famous, of course, as well for Star Wars, where he uses archetypal imagery from a lot of religions. The Confucian emperor wants order in the galaxy. Yoda, a kind of Lao Tzu of Taoism, wants freedom and naturalness. So he finds the archetypes of religion in his writing, Hero with 1,000 Faces. He finds it's the same hero wherever you go. Hercules, Krishna, Gilgamesh was the first in Sumer. Then I like to throw in what no one else in my field, I hardly see him acknowledge, Tetsuro Watsuji. And he realized another astounding thing. Religions are shaped by their environment in his climate and culture. And if we look at this map, we can almost see it, can't we? If you have in your head your memory of the religion map we just saw, isn't it odd that this climate region is all Muslim? Isn't it odd that this climate region is Catholic and Orthodox and then Hindu? So religion evolves with the climate. And now, I am going to get into the controversial part. This is the part perhaps the scientists were waiting for. I don't know. Not all scientists are atheists. Not all atheists are scientists. But this is the standard view we have of atheism and science, is that belief in imaginary beings is kind of dumb, isn't it? Does that sound fair? Okay. If I make anyone mad, let me know. So, this is my proof that science is a religion. Because look, there's L. Ron Hubbard. He calls it science. Scientology, look. He's got the Mark Super 7 quantum e-meter. Erases negative energy from your brain. Have I made my case yet? No? I heard a no.
That's not science.
He says it is. You're saying he's wrong.
He is wrong.
Actually, that was just my joke slide. I knew I wouldn't prove the case with this because science hasn't discovered aliens, have they? No, and the quantum Super 7 e-meter doesn't really work, I think. But the point is, this man, this science fiction writer, invented a religion and based it on science, which shows that as crazy as no Scientologists are there? No, I always ask that question because they never are, but I just kind of like to ask that question. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm going to say it's a little bit crazy to think that we're all invaded by alien spirits. But it's not a classic religious view either, is it? And it is like a religion out of science fiction.